Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Today we're going to talk about our journey on doing 90 videos in a row for YOOPknows. I was going to talk about continue with templates today, but we've had 3 days of that, so I'm thinking let's pivot slightly and talk about touch points. Okay, as we can see, we're on Super Good Architects. This is our dummy version to explain the functionality of YOOPknows, etc. And we've, if you saw yesterday's video, we put in 5 projects. Let's see the Kanban view. Then we even jogged them along so we can see exactly what stage they're at in the Reba template. So do check that one out. But what we're going to talk about today is touch points required and snoozed projects. So if you're using a spreadsheet to run your practice, and I've met many directors, people in really large companies. I met a director who was working in a company that had 500 staff, and he was running a team of 25 people. And I said, what do you do to run your 25 team? And I said, don't tell me, a spreadsheet. And he said, yeah, a spreadsheet. So the one thing a spreadsheet can't really do is give you a feedback loop. You really have to maintain that spreadsheet all the time. And I'm talking from experience because, like all the other architects, I did the same. I ran my practice from a spreadsheet. And one of the things I found with the spreadsheet is I was looking at the spreadsheet all the time, but no one else was. And if I wanted them to update it, they never would, because they didn't really understand it. It was a very personal thing to me. Even though it worked really well for me, if you don't update it all the time, then you don't know how good that information is. You need to go through and check every part of it. So in YOOPknows, we created a feedback loop, and this is what the touch point required is. You'll see on all the projects here, they've got a red dot. Boom, 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 boom. So the typical workflow is that if we did some work on Car Road, and just gonna, let's go back to Car Road. I'm just gonna move my screen down a little bit so you can kind of see that. So let's just say that we're just going to where we're up to. Oh yeah, we're gonna invoice. I always like invoicing. Let's do that. Let's go to 3D model. In fact, do you know what? Just to show you, we're not doing a 3D model for that one, so I'm going to delete it. And we're not meeting friendly builders because the guy's already got a builder. So we're into pre-app. So yeah, we're going to send it for client approval and then we're going to submit. So okay, let's just say that we've sent it to the client to approve. What I would then do is go back to project description, and I would say in here it's the 24th of the 2nd of the 15th, and I would say send scheme to client for pre-app approval, because it's always really important that they've got to see it and understand it, and then that way they can't come back and say, oh, I didn't know what you'd submitted. That's a really important thing. So recording that we know when we've sent it, that's really important too. So so then we can come out of that. It was Car Road. You can see the status update. That's always really useful. So if I click on that again, if I so there's 2 ways of doing this. On the Car Road here, you can see the status and there's the bell. So if I click on the bell, I can select it from here. I can select to snooze this project for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, 1 week, 2 weeks. Okay, I'm not going to do this yet. I'm going to show you the other method first. That's why I got kind of caught in 2 minds, because usually I use the other method. So if you go down to here, you can kind of see, move myself out of the way. Okay, you can see what the next task is here, but you can also see the snooze. This is kind of almost a faster way of doing it. You can just hit one of these buttons. So the reason why, let me just explain why the snoozing is important here. I've just emailed the scheme, the pre-app scheme to the client. The client needs to come back and say, yes, Gordon, that's good to submit for pre-app. That way we know as architects that the client has known and understood it. So if I send that to the client, there's really nothing more to do on this job until the client comes back to me. So what I'm typically going to do is I'm going to snooze it for 5 days. Okay. And that's just been snoozed. Boom. Okay. If we go back to the list view now, you can see Car Road has now got a green dot. Okay. And what that is doing is indicating that that scheme is in hand, is being managed. If we go back over to the stats over here, over to touch points required, we can see that the 5 has reduced to 4, and you can see that we snoozed a project. So if you've got 50, 100 projects, this becomes really important, because if we've got 5 projects, yeah, we know where they're all up to. We can remember 5 projects. But as soon as you're at 20, 30, 40, 50, I think once you get beyond 10, it starts going up exponentially hard to remember all the details. And this is where architects get in a bit of a tangle. So you don't need to remember all the projects. All you need to do is check all your touch points required on a daily basis. If you've got 50 projects, we've got about 50 projects in our live architectural practice. We typically have about 10, 12 touch points to check every day, and the whole team checks that. And what I tend to do is just go to the filter and I go red, and it brings up all the red projects, and then I can just check in them, and I just go Abbott Street. Okay, I usually read the status. Oh, we've just started this, so I can snooze it for a couple of days because I want to check on it on maybe Friday or Monday. Okay, and you can see that the list of red projects is reduced. Okay, so and if you do that on a daily basis, you will find that you never forget projects. All your projects are in hand, and it's amazing what that does for anxiety and sense of forgetting projects, which is really, really awful. So typically when I see a red dot, I go into that project. I either do something on the project, or I create a card and for myself to do something in the future, or I give that card to someone else for them to do something, or I might email someone. So it could be following up a planner, it could be chasing up a client, it could be chasing up an engineer, it could be a whole bunch of things. But because I've written it in the status, I will know instantly where that scheme's up to and what I should do next. If for example, the classic is we sent everything, 5 days goes past and we don't get a response. So say it's the 30th of the 2nd. Oh, I did I wrote that wrong. 24th of the 2nd, 30th, and I might just put my initials on that just to say I did that. Client is on spell it right, holiday, back in a week. So then what that means is I can go back here and snooze it for another week, and again that just pops up that it's snoozed. So again, no one needs to worry about Car Road. I chased up the client's back on holiday, so he hasn't really looked at the drawing. He might look at the drawings while he's on holiday. So again, Car Road, as a practice, we can forget about. And if you imagine you can multiply that over 50 projects, 100 projects, it means that you're only focusing on what you need to focus on any given hour and day and week. Hope that is really clear. If you've got any questions on that, do email me on believe@yoopknows.io. And yeah, that is touch points required and snooze projects.